Before I tell you this story, I need you to think about someone in your life that everyone warned you about. Maybe it was a friend your parents didn't trust, or a partner your family couldn't stand. We've all been there, haven't we? Standing at that crossroads where everyone you love is pulling you in one direction, but your heart is screaming something completely different. What I'm about to share with you will challenge everything you think you know about trusting your instincts versus trusting the people who claim to protect you. This is the story of how I discovered that sometimes the person everyone calls dangerous is actually the one person willing to stand between you and real danger. Sometimes the monster everyone warns you about turns out to be your guardian angel in disguise. If you've ever felt torn between what others tell you and what your heart whispers in the quiet moments, if you've ever wondered whether the people trying to save you from someone might have their own hidden agenda, then you need to hear this, because what happened to me will make you question every warning you've ever received and every person you've ever trusted. Hit that like button right now if you're ready for a story that will flip your world upside down. And don't forget to subscribe, because I promise you, the stories I share here are the ones nobody else will tell you. The messy, complicated, beautiful truths about love, betrayal, and the unexpected heroes who show up when you least expect them, but need them most. I never believed in love at first sight until I met Damien Cross. It was a Thursday evening at the Meridian Art Gallery, one of those pretentious openings where everyone pretends to understand abstract art while sipping overpriced wine. I was there for work, photographing the event for a local magazine, when I saw him standing in front of a massive black and red painting that looked like controlled chaos. He wasn't conventionally handsome, but there was something magnetic about the way he carried himself. Tall, with dark hair that looked like he'd run his fingers through it, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my rent. But it was his eyes that caught me. Intense, almost predatory. Yet when they met mine across the room, I felt safer than I had in months. "You're staring," he said when he approached me, his voice deep, with just a hint of an accent I couldn't place. "You're worth staring at," I replied, surprising myself with my boldness. That was the beginning of everything. Damien Cross, billionaire entrepreneur, owner of half the city's skyline, and according to every gossip column, one of the most ruthless men in business. But when he smiled at me that night, when he asked if I wanted to grab coffee somewhere quiet, I forgot every warning I'd ever heard about powerful men. For 3 weeks, it was perfect. He was attentive without being clingy, generous without making me feel bought, intelligent in a way that challenged me. We'd spend hours talking about everything and nothing, and when he kissed me for the first time outside my apartment building, I felt like I was falling into something beautiful and terrifying. Then my sister Vivian found out. "Luna, are you completely insane?" she screamed when she barged into my apartment that Sunday morning, waving her phone like a weapon. "Damien Cross, do you have any idea who you're dating?" I tried to explain, but Vivian was beyond reason. She pulled up article after article on her phone. Business rivals who'd mysteriously backed down from deals, competitors whose companies had suddenly folded, whispers of connections to people who operated in shadows. "He's dangerous, Luna. These aren't just rumors. People are scared of him for a reason." "You don't know him," I protested. But even as I said it, doubt crept in. How well did I really know him? He was always vague about his work, changed the subject when I asked too many questions about his business dealings. "Promise me you'll end this," Vivian begged, tears in her eyes, "before he destroys you like he's destroyed everyone else who got in his way. Choose him or choose your family, Luna, because I can't watch you throw your life away for a man who could make you disappear without a trace." Standing there in my living room, watching my sister's genuine terror, I felt the first crack in the perfect world Damien had built around me. Maybe everyone was right. Maybe I was walking straight into the arms of a beautiful monster. The doubt started small, like a whisper in the back of my mind, that grew louder with each passing day. I began noticing things I'd overlooked before. How conversations stopped when Damien entered a room. The way waiters and store clerks seemed nervous around him. The men in expensive suits who appeared wherever we went. always keeping their distance, but never quite out of sight. I told myself I was being paranoid, but paranoia has a way of feeding itself. I started researching, spending sleepless nights, scrolling through news articles and business reports. The deeper I dug, the more unsettled I became. Companies that had competed with Damien's empire didn't just lose, they vanished entirely. Former partners who'd spoken against him in interviews seemed to disappear from public life altogether. Then there were the police reports. Never charges, never arrests, but Damien's name appeared in connection with investigations that went nowhere, missing persons cases that grew cold, business disputes that ended with one party suddenly, inexplicably backing down. The breaking point came on a Tuesday evening when I was waiting for him at his penthouse. He was running late from a meeting, so I wandered into his home office to leave him a note. That's when I saw it, sleek, black, and unmistakably deadly. A gun sitting in the open drawer of his mahogany desk. My hands shook as I stared at it. This wasn't some collector's piece or family heirloom. This was a weapon designed for one purpose, and seeing it there, so casually accessible, made every warning I'd ignored come crashing back. When Damien found me standing frozen in his office doorway, his expression shifted from surprise to something colder, more calculating. "You weren't supposed to see that," he said quietly, closing the drawer with deliberate calm. "Why do you have a gun, Damien?" He studied me for a long moment, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never noticed before, a hardness that made my blood run cold. Some people require persuasion to see reason. Some conversations need a certain kind of emphasis. I felt sick. What does that mean? "It means the less you know about my business, the safer you are," he replied, his voice flat and final. "Trust me on this, Luna. Some doors, once opened, can never be closed again." That night I barely slept. Every shadow in my apartment seemed threatening. Every sound made me jump. I kept thinking about that gun, about the casual way he'd dismissed my concerns, about the coldness in his voice when he'd talked about persuasion. Maybe Vivian was right. Maybe I was sleeping next to a monster who was skilled enough to make me believe he was something else entirely. Maybe the man who held me so gently in the dark was the same man who made people disappear when they got in his way. The thought terrified me more than I wanted to admit. Everything changed the night I almost died. I was walking to my car after a late dinner with a client when I noticed the footsteps behind me weren't random. They matched my pace perfectly. My heart hammered as I quickened my steps, but the parking garage felt like a maze of concrete pillars and shadows. When I reached my car, 3 men emerged from behind nearby vehicles, surrounding me with practiced precision. "Luna Martinez," the largest one said, his voice eerily calm. "You're coming with us." I opened my mouth to scream, but another man pressed something cold against my ribs. "Make a sound, and this gets messy fast." Terror flooded my system as they began forcing me toward a black van parked in the corner. This was it. I was about to become another one of those missing persons cases I'd read about online. All of Vivian's warnings crashed through my mind as I realized I was probably going to die because I'd fallen for a dangerous man. Then, like something out of an action movie, Damien appeared. He didn't burst through dramatically or announce himself. One moment the men were dragging me toward the van, and the next, 2 of them were on the ground, while the third found himself staring down the barrel of that same gun I'd discovered in Damien's desk. But Damien wasn't alone. 4 men in dark suits materialized from the shadows, moving with military precision. "Let her go, now." Damien's voice was deadly quiet, and for the first time I understood why people feared him. This wasn't the gentle man who brought me coffee in bed or listened to my work stories. This was someone who commanded respect through power I was only beginning to comprehend. The remaining attacker released me so fast I stumbled, and within seconds, all 3 men were zip-tied and sitting against concrete pillars while Damien's security team made phone calls I couldn't quite hear. "Are you hurt?" Damien's hands were gentle as he checked me for injuries, but his eyes kept scanning the garage like he expected more threats to emerge. I'm okay, but Damien, what the hell just happened? Who were those men? His jaw tightened. They work for Marcus Chen, your sister's boyfriend. The world tilted. What? That's impossible. Marcus is a lawyer. He's a con artist, Luna. And he's been using Vivian to get to you. Damien's voice was grim as he helped me to his car. Marcus isn't his real name, and he's not a lawyer. He's my former business partner who embezzled $2 million from my company before disappearing 18 months ago. I felt like I was drowning. But Vivian said she's been dating him for months. She said you were dangerous. Because he told her I was. He's been feeding her lies about me while planning to kidnap you for ransom. Damien's hands were shaking slightly as he started the engine. I've been trying to protect you without scaring you, but I should have told you the truth from the beginning. The truth unraveled, like a carefully constructed lie, finally coming apart at the seams. Within hours of my rescue, Marcus Chen, whose real name turned out to be Marcus Vega, was in police custody, facing charges that would put him away for decades. But the real revelation came when I sat with Vivian in my apartment the next morning, watching her world crumble as she realized how completely she'd been manipulated. He knew exactly what to say, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. He'd show me articles about Damien, tell me stories about his victims, and I believed every word because I thought he was trying to protect our family. She looked up at me with devastated eyes. Luna, he threatened to hurt you if I didn't help turn you against Damien. He said if I couldn't convince you to leave him willingly, he'd have to take more drastic measures. The pieces fell into place with sickening clarity. Every warning, every tearful plea, every moment of doubt Vivian had planted in my mind had been orchestrated by the very man she thought she loved. Marcus had used my sister's protective instincts against both of us, turning her into an unwitting accomplice in his plan to destroy my relationship and ultimately kidnap me. But the deepest shock came when Damien finally told me everything. Those mysterious men who'd been following me weren't threats. They were bodyguards he'd hired the moment he realized Marcus was back in the city. The business rivals who'd disappeared hadn't been eliminated. They'd been relocated into witness protection after Damien uncovered their connections to human trafficking rings. His reputation for being ruthless came from his willingness to go after corrupt politicians and criminals that others were too afraid to touch. I built that reputation deliberately, he explained, as we sat in his penthouse, the city sprawling beneath us. When people think you're dangerous, the actually dangerous people either stay away or reveal themselves trying to challenge you. It's been the most effective protection I've ever had. The final piece of karma came 3 weeks later when we learned that Marcus had been running the same con in 4 different cities, using different identities to manipulate families and steal millions. His arrest led to a federal investigation that brought down an entire network of con artists and revealed dozens of other victims. The predator who'd spent months hunting me had become prey himself, caught in a web of his own making, standing in that same art gallery where I'd first met Damien, now wearing the engagement ring he'd designed himself. I thought about how wrong we can be about the people in our lives. Sometimes the person everyone warns you about is actually the one person willing to stand between you and real danger. Sometimes love means being feared by all the right people for all the right reasons. And sometimes the most beautiful truth is hidden behind the most terrifying reputation, waiting for someone brave enough to look past the surface and see the protector beneath the predator's mask. As I sit here today, married to the man everyone told me would destroy me, I can't help but think about how dangerously wrong we can be about the people who matter most. Damien never hid who he was from me. I just let other people's foolishness cloud my own judgment. The signs were all there that he was protecting me, but I was so busy looking for red flags that I missed all the green ones. My sister Vivian is doing well now, by the way. She's in therapy, learning to trust her own instincts again after Marcus manipulated her so completely. She and Damien have actually become close friends, bonded by their shared determination to keep our family safe. It's beautiful to watch, really. how healing can happen when the truth finally has room to breathe. The most important lesson I learned through all of this is that sometimes the people trying to save you from someone are the ones you actually need saving from. Marcus used my sister's love for me as a weapon, turning her protective instincts into tools for his manipulation. He knew that if he could make the people I trusted most afraid of Damien, he could isolate me and make me vulnerable. But here's what I want you to remember. Your heart knows things your mind hasn't figured out yet. Every instinct I had about Damien being a good man was right, even when all the evidence seemed to point in the other direction. Love isn't always logical, and sometimes the scariest-looking people are scary for all the right reasons. If this story resonated with you,
If you've ever felt caught between your heart and everyone else's opinions, I need you to hit that like button right now. Your engagement helps stories like mine reach people who need to hear them. People who might be sitting where I was, torn between love and fear, wondering if they can trust their own feelings. And please, please subscribe to this channel because I'm not done sharing these stories. Next week, I'm going to tell you about a woman who discovered her perfect husband was living a triple life. But the truth she uncovered was stranger and more dangerous than any lie he could have told. It's a story about identity, deception, and what happens when the person sleeping next to you every night turns out to be someone you've never actually met. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever discovered that someone wasn't who others claimed they were? Have you ever had to choose between trusting your heart and trusting the people who said they were protecting you? Share your story because I guarantee you're not alone, and your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Remember, the most beautiful love stories often start with the scariest warnings. Sometimes the monster everyone fears is actually your guardian angel in disguise,